So, who wants to say hello? Anyone? Leo, start with you. How's it going?
Good. It's a good start to new year. Made my goal of 7,000, whatever you call them, connections on LinkedIn finally. Just a day late.
A day
Day
late?
late and dollar short.
No, not never.
Never.
Stephanie, what's the word?
What's the word? Well, I say Happy New Year and Merry Christmas and season's greetings, all belated. Yeah, it's kind of weird right now. We have no snow here at all, so just went up high today, to 1,300 meters, and there's still no snow.
Really? I
Where
was
Yeah,
are
at
you?
2,300 meters and there was snow,
yeah,
but not today.
yeah,
Over Christmas, I was at over
yeah,
2,000 meters and
Where
that's
are you,
yeah.
Stephanie?
I'm in Switzerland, and like
But,
yourself, Beat,
but where in Switzerland?
in Bieberstein.
Okay, because out of my window here at 2000 meters, I was skiing last weekend or the last couple of days. We have
Oh, okay.
snow at
Where was
2000.
there? Where was that?
Pizzol is the
Okay.
mountain out here. And I
Yeah.
was already skiing 4 or 5 times with my kids this year
Okay. Well, that's
for
hopeful.
this season.
That's hopeful. No, not out here. It's all green.
okay. Verbia has snow. I was in Verbia over Christmas. Snow there.
So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna try to monitor the panelists. I don't know, something's going on. I can't promote Francesco and try one last time to make him co-host. It's just not letting me. Um, Something is wrong, probably user error. Lord only knows what LinkedIn has done today. Not LinkedIn, whatchamacallit, Zoom. Yeah. So, wanted to look back at 2026, the good, the bad, the ugly, um, and take a look going forward where you all think um, we should focus, what would be most useful, how we can support you. All these things are fair topics. And what we're looking at is um, uh, so we grew a lot. I took over these Friday calls after the 10X conference in May from Joe Hage, as many of you may know, who he has retired. And the transition to the new platform has been a little hit or miss, more miss than hit. But one thing that has been consistent is the Friday calls have continued to grow, both in popularity and attendance, and I hope in content. And it's this is a blended platform. It's, people are allowed to participate. Please feel free to jump in at any time during this discussion. Um, it's not your straightforward, oh, here's a lecture on this. We're going to go through a slide deck like a webinar. Uh, and at the same time, it's not a free-for-all. So we try to structure the thing, and I try to work with each speaker on what's going to work with their particular presentation style. Some people are heavier into presentation, some people are heavier into discussion, some people are all discussion, some people are all presentation, and so finding that balance has been difficult from an operational perspective. And then, of course, the platform being, the bane of my existence in the email announcements. One thing that we did get completed is a new single registration form, which I'll share with you, that you can sign up to get the reminder every week. There's no need to sign up every week if you sign up for the join every Friday. Doesn't mean you need to join every Friday. It means you'll get the reminder automatically. You don't need to sign up. So that is, yes, remind me every Friday. And I think that'll be convenient for a lot of you who are here today. Um, but, you know, going back to the, sorry, the year of growth. So we had all these sessions, we had all these webinars, and that was exciting. We did lots of LinkedIn posts. I want to share with you sort of the weekly post process, just so that you can see it. But it's a manual process that we go through every week of finding what content is um, out there on LinkedIn, and we follow a certain number of people regularly. We're always on the lookout for new content. Um, I'm always open to, hey, this is a really great LinkedIn post, Sean. You should consider featuring this. Just send it to me, and we'll take a look at it. But what we look for when we look for LinkedIn posts is really, are you telling me something that I don't already know? Are you adding value? Are you sharing a recent update, or are you creating an educational post that's actually helpful? You're seeing a lot more ChatGPT generated content. I have nothing against ChatGPT generally. However, I think we're going to reach a point of saturation with that kind of educational content that just sort of asks ChatGPT to break down, a certain topic and slice it up. What I have noticed is videos don't perform very well. Um, Putting a lot of pictures up doesn't really perform very well. A single picture performs better. Slide carousels seem to perform extremely well. I don't see many text-only posts anymore. Um, it's I think it's difficult for people to notice them. I think that people scroll right past them. Um, Looking at some people that have been extremely successful on LinkedIn, I suggest you take a look at Georg Deagle. He has uh, done remarkable work in the Kappa area. And the thing that I think is really interesting is that he's taken an area like Kappa and he's basically said, this is the hill I'm going to die on. It's going to be Kappa. And I am going to do 2 or 3 posts a week that are going to explain this from different angles. He's got different ways of doing it. And what has happened is he's developed a following, and the following has grown and grown and grown. And so now his posts automatically get 100 or more, or even more likes and comments. The thing that seems to be driving the algorithm more than anything, and Martin, you can chime in on this, is has less to do with the number of likes that you get, but rather the number of interactive, substantive comments. And the more discussion that gets sparked on LinkedIn, the more they continue to show your post. That said, you can create a valueless discussion, um, which, for example, I did a post about being sick at Christmas, which got me something like 24,000 views. And I didn't find that to be a really high value um, post. In fact, I was, on the verge of not posting it at all. Sometimes the things that have the most viral effect don't really have any value to the audience in terms of education, in terms of understanding, in terms of deepening. So I would caution that what we're looking for when we're evaluating posts is, are you sharing a document? Are you sharing special insight? Are you sharing something that only you are qualified to talk about? Or, no, I mean, no one has that special privilege, but are you sharing insight at a level that that is valuable to the community? So what we're looking for when we're looking for content is it interesting? Are people responding to it? Um, and sometimes I've posted things that only two people have liked, you know. It's not necessarily a numbers game at all. If there's value in the post, um, and um, then it's something that's worth exploring. So I don't know. I'm gonna ask you, if what you're seeing on LinkedIn, the content that resonates with you, and anything else about LinkedIn in terms of, getting more followers or developing your LinkedIn presence, or why should I even be on LinkedIn in the first place? Is there any value in it? And I would say that, a lot of clients come to me and they're like, oh, if I develop this LinkedIn content schedule, with this posting rhythm and all this stuff, am I going to get more clients from this? And LinkedIn really isn't a quid pro quo. It's not any guarantee of getting clients. The value in posting on LinkedIn is creating consistent presence in the marketplace so that people are familiar with your name, they've seen your comments on the thing, and that you've defined an area that you're going to tackle rather than saying, "Oh, I'm doing all of MDR." I'm qualified to talk about any part of MDR. Well, yeah, you may be, but that's really not honing in on a specific area that you're going to say, this is what I specialize in. Think of a restaurant that has a signature dish. What is your signature dish? What do you want to be known for? When people say, "Oh yeah, go to Martin's. He does, really good regulatory roundup." Something like that. So I'm going to open it up to comments here, but really looking at LinkedIn and how we can leverage that platform. The LinkedIn groups just don't work for me. I mean, I'm actually the administrator of a group of the medical devices group with 350,000 members, and I can't get 4 likes to save my life in that group. And I'm the administrator of the thing. So I don't see any value in groups. What we're talking about here is moving how we leverage LinkedIn to move people off of LinkedIn and into groups like this, into a network where we can have discussions, um, and um, and so forth. So, is that helpful? Not helpful? I don't know.
Can I just make a comment or get some feedback from you guys on this? I go on to LinkedIn quite a bit. I'm not constantly on there because I get pinged a lot. But what I've also noticed is sometimes I even get important posts that are like 2 weeks later, or even a month, and I'm wondering why the heck am I getting some of these things so many weeks later if I'm, always checking some of the important people. Do you guys know how the algorithm works? Or, sometimes I have webinars that are posted on mine and it's already 2 weeks ago, right? It's sort of annoying sometimes.
Um, okay, so the LinkedIn algorithm is a private thing that is constantly evolving. and they keep that locked down very tightly. What I can tell you is that what you're shown in your feed is based on who you're connected to, who those people are connected to, and what's trending on LinkedIn. So they may decide 2 weeks after the fact that people are still talking about a certain webinar and decide to show it to you. The order in which that shows up is highly uncontrollable. That was the essential reason why we started MedTech Leading Voice in the first place, was because there was no predictable way to get LinkedIn to show you content of value for the MedTech community. So what we did was we said, well, who should we follow? And LinkedIn said, follow whoever you want, you know, and
And
And so then we went to a bunch of people in the industry and we said, well, who do you follow? And they said, oh, I follow these people. And so we started to follow them. And that's when the MLV 25 was born, and it was 25 people worth following on LinkedIn. From that, MedTech Leading Voice was developed, which we said, let's find the top 10 or 15 posts every week that have the most value, so that you don't rely on the algorithm to show you, um, what's happening. Because if you rely on the algorithm, there are things that you can do with who you follow in terms of ringing their bell and making sure that you always see their posts. There are things that you can do to sort of up your chances of seeing the best content. But again, they're going to show you what they want to show you in the order that they want to show it to you in. And a lot of it is increasingly based on who's giving them money, because you'll notice that they're like, do you want to boost this post? Do you want to boost this post? Do you want to boost this post? And my answer is categorically no. Um, so that leads to the idea of, okay, how do we move people off the LinkedIn platform and onto another platform? And that's not easy to do. We've done it successfully with the webinars. We've done it successfully with the Friday calls. What I'd like to see happen is a Substack publication for MedTech Leading Voice come into being, which allows us to publish longer form content on more thoughtful dissertations, more thoughtful ideas, more thoughtful discussions, rather than what's going to capture somebody's attention for 30 seconds in the feed, because I don't think that there's a lot of value there. I also don't think that there's a lot of value in terms of the LLMs there. I don't think the LLMs are looking to LinkedIn to say who's the authority on um, PMCS or 60601. So if you think about the way that people are searching for information, the way that people are searching for experts in 2026, they're going to be increasingly turning to the large language models, to ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini. And they're going to be looking for, who can I trust? Who can I turn to for medtech expertise on subject XYZ? And I think that the people who are going to come out ahead are the people who are consistently producing high value content on these topics. Accordingly, what we've done is we've taken every webinar that we've done and every Friday call, we've transcribed them, we've chunked them, and we're producing a searchable version of the MLV 100 and all of the webinars and all of the Friday calls, so that the LLMs will be surfacing the full text conversations and the actual voice of the experts. Our place in the medtech ecosystem is the voice of the experts. At the very center of what we do is medtech expertise. And so what we're trying to do is to become a hub that the LLMs will turn to look for who are the most credentialed expert speakers on this topic. From that perspective, we're looking at 2026 and we're saying, what are the topics that are worth deeper exploration? And the more specific they become, whether or not we're talking about document control, CAPA 60601, a specific standard, a specific aspect of clinical, a specific aspect of risk, a specific aspect of product engineering, cybersecurity. The more specific and the more detailed that we get, the greater value we're going to be providing to the community at large, and the more that the LLMs will turn to this content resource. So from there, we get into the idea of, okay, digital summits. What is a digital summit? A digital summit is 10 to 20 speakers on a given topic, each one taking about a half an hour. So, first one that we're thinking of doing is femtech and designing for women and the special needs of women in medical devices. There's a lot of room for a variety of topics. So now you crowdsource this topic and you bring 10, 20 different experts together to discuss this thing. Now, is somebody going to go and sit through 6 hours of this, or are they going to watch the thing in bits and pieces? People are going to come to it at different levels and participate in different ways. But the thing that an expert can do is they can say, I'm going to discuss this aspect of it, and I'm going to create a take-home document that people can take with them that they can remember me by. So they get a checklist, they get a guide, they get a summary version of what they discussed in their section or an expansion of that. They get something that they take with them that provides them a reason to reach out and contact you after the fact. It's not, oh, I went to this thing and now I'm going to hire Stephanie. It's the beginning of a connection. It's the beginning of a conversation. And so what I'm hoping is that we explore new types of content, private workshops, large summits, mini summits. I'm planning a mini summit for the end of February on the Italian MedTech market. I already have, I don't know, 7 or 8 speakers at this point. My goal is 10 from uh, the competent authority, from notified bodies, and people talking about things like distribution, contract manufacturing, clinical studies, etc., trying to give a 360-degree view of the Italian medtech market.
Sean,
Yes.
I was in Milan, so I have a couple contacts I can connect you with.
Fantastic.
Manufacturers.
Good. Manufacturers are always hard to get to speak. But they tend to not want to share a lot of information.
Massimo's an interesting guy. Maybe he'll want to share.
I always welcome new conversations. So I've talked a lot. There's a lot of opportunities here in front of us. What do you all think? Martin?
I think that, so the post you spoke about earlier, about you being sick and getting lots of attention. So yes, emotional posts get good responses. My best posts that I've ever had from a response point of view have been emotionally driven posts. Whether, if you do that consistently, whether it really works, I don't know. I don't want to take that risk. So that's one thing, but continuous presence is a key. So you need to have a continuous presence, whatever that means, whether it's in comments or posts. So I sort of have a high continuous presence, but that's also to do with the group. And so my experience with the group is good. It is work, but it's very focused. And I have a very high performance group. So I don't know if it grows, whether we will see performance going down. It's only like 14,000 users, members, and climbing. And whether that activity will decrease, I don't know, but it has a very high, the numbers of activity are nuts, you know, it's like very high. So, and there are things from the algorithm point of view that you can do with groups that you can't do on in the general forum, and that is you can like post loads of posts one after the other, and the algorithm doesn't drop you down because they're all going into the group. Whereas if you are posting in the general LinkedIn space and you post too often, too close together, then it's going to see it as spam.
Mm.
And also, I mean, the common mistake people are making is when they repost their own post or repost in general. So repost with a comment or with some input, and then it becomes a post in its own right. But if you just repost blank, then LinkedIn sees it as a duplicate post and it's going to put it down in the algorithm. So if you're going to create multiple posts, and you'll see that I do this a lot, I usually do a post in the group and a post in the general LinkedIn. And the post in the general LinkedIn usually goes out later than the post in the group. So the group gets some preferential treatment, if you like. But I cut and paste physically the two posts. They're identical, but they are two separate posts. So I completely agree that content of value is key. And that content of value can be in a post, or it can be in a comment, or it can be in a repost. And a content of value in a comment is pretty good because it expands the audience for that post. Like always, I try to do with the newsletter, I always try to put a comment in there with some added input, because that's expanding. I've been doing this series on the performance, right? If you look at a post or an article or a newsletter as a performance, the comments are expanding that performance. They're expanding the audience. It's very fluid, right? It's a very fluid situation. People making comments are actually performers. They're mini performers on the outside of the core post. So we have, that's the way I look at it. And I don't think that we're just looking at electronic media and we're looking at a different forum. And yes, we have to look at how the search machines and models are leveraging this. So if we get a peer outside, how it's going to be leveraged. But I have the index tool, which basically points back to LinkedIn. So I'm continually fueling the two. I get them to work in symbiotic relationship. And I think there's a key to that. If you want to take people off of LinkedIn into your own forum, let LinkedIn benefit from that as well, because it's a cross-fertilization. It makes the two work together. But that's what you have to think out. That's the trick. How do you make it work? You know? And I think the method you use is very good, where you send out these clips. This was last Friday, and you in 2 minutes you have a summary of all the key points or some key points raised on the previous Friday. And I think that is what's going to attract someone in. It's like, oh, I missed something. Maybe I register for the following week. Or maybe I register. What I discovered to my peril was that I thought this is great. The newsletter thing is great because you can offer everybody a subscription. So on this mini series I've been doing, I sent it out as a newsletter. So I wanted to do the regulatory roundup as a newsletter, turn it into a newsletter so people can subscribe. The format and everything will be the same. It's just a way of pushing it out to people. Because I'm now doing like a daily roundup, essentially, what ends up being a daily roundup. And so that was great and LinkedIn said you can have up to like 5 newsletters. So I thought, oh, this is good. So I create this newsletter for the mini series, and then I go back like a week later and say I want to do this newsletter for the roundup, and it's like, no, you can't. You can have up to 5 newsletters, but you're only allowed to create one every 2 weeks. So I have to wait.
Yeah, I had always thought you were only allowed one newsletter, period.
No, you're allowed 5. Or it says you're allowed 5, but it says it will only let you create a newsletter, which is nuts. Every 2, you can create those 5, but you have to do one every 2 weeks to create the 5 and get them running.
But I'm able to publish one every week.
Yes, once you publish, I have got one at the moment. The mini series is going out every day, right?
So once I understand. Okay.
One other thing I've noticed, you guys probably know this, but is that if I go on to your profile, Sean, I don't see all the posts that you've done. So sometimes I'm on LinkedIn and I have to do something else quickly, and I want to register for, some session that's not on a Friday. And then it disappears on me because I come back a half an hour later and I go on your profile and I don't see it. And then I checked other profiles as well. And not all the posts that are on LinkedIn show up. And I think they're doing this on purpose that you look in LinkedIn more than once a day because you don't have all the posts to associate with a person. I noticed.
It's really, really difficult to find a historical post. I did some brief guides like 2 or 3 years ago. It's really difficult to find them if I don't have a tag for them in a document. I mean, it becomes data mining exercise on LinkedIn because LinkedIn is a thing for the moment. It's not interested in something that happened a year ago or 2 years ago. And there may be information in something 1 or 2 years ago. And that's why I created the index, so that everything that goes on the QARA group that has any content of what I would say content of value ends up in the index. So you can at least do a keyword search or something in the index to find stuff.
Yeah, but even if someone did, 7 posts in 2 weeks, you don't find the 7 posts that they did in 2 weeks. That's what I've noticed. I've gone on different people's profile and you just can't find the things anymore. Even if you give in, like, for example, Sean Smith's name, I don't find the post that I was looking at maybe yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn can make it difficult for me to find my own posts. LinkedIn can find it difficult for me to find my own events. LinkedIn can make, anything difficult. The expression, screw up a 2-car funeral, comes to mind. But
Is there a workaround? I'm raising this because I'm just asking the community here if there's a workaround to finding these things, because it's sort of sad. It's some of this stuff is valuable content for your everyday, and you have to sometimes drop something and get something else done, and then you come back and you can't find it anymore.
I just sent the link via email to myself. So when I see something on my cell phone, which I think, okay, I need to read that, I send it via email to myself because I know what you mean.
Good point.
I know this
Good
problem.
point. Good point.
So
I
there's
used to do a snapshot and then I realized I can't find it anymore.
Yeah,
There,
that's the reason why I sent the link to my email, so I at least have it again when I'm back on the computer, so I can find it.
you also
Good
can
point.
save the link if you go in the three dots or whatever it is. Yeah, the three dots. You can pull down and save the link.
Yeah, okay. So what I
Um,
guess I'm trying to
not
say,
not the most
yeah,
efficient though, because then
yeah,
you have to look at all the saved posts,
yeah. So I
which
guess
gets
what I'm saying
bulky.
as well is that, we have our group has really valuable content, Sean, and it's going to disappear now and again on LinkedIn, right? So even though if we do a lot of effort and you do a lot of effort, um, I mean, is there any bargaining chip with LinkedIn to sort of raise the profile of the MedTech leading voices that this stuff doesn't disappear?
No, the biggest way to keep the stuff from disappearing is to keep the conversations alive, you know, for, people not to write comments like, thanks for including me. You know, it, yes, it's a comment. 11 words is apparently, so I hear, what triggers the algorithm. 11 comments that are 11 words or longer are given more weight than thanks for sharing. It's not that not all comments are created equal. And so, but I mean, when when I talk to clients, when I talk to people, I talk about visibility, I talk about credibility, and I talk about connections. And I think that the reframe, if I were to think about it, is most of the stuff that you were told about your value proposition, about your unique selling proposition, about your target market, about your ideal customer profile, is more or less marketing garbage that has been popularized over a long period of time by people who are mm, not very good at what they do. And what I find is that in our business, where you're talking about, I'm looking to hire an expert on topic X, that people are turning to their network, they're turning to people that they know, they're increasingly turning to the LLMs for advice. Who should I hire? How should I hire them? How much should I expect to pay? That sort of thing. And that what we're faced with is the people that um, band together are going to do better than the people that try to do this alone. That this is not a solo activity. Um, it takes a village, and I think that so the idea behind the visibility and the credibility and the connection, somebody needs to mute. And is that it's around this consistency. It's around the consistency of presence and providing value throughout the year. It's not a matter of showing up once a month and saying, "Hey, does anybody want to hire me?" Here's my value proposition. Here's what I can do for you. Here's what I'm an expert at. Here are the top 10 lists that I'm on. Here are the thing here, it's the things that it's like all the information that goes on a website is irrelevant here. What you're trying to do is you're trying to convince an audience that hasn't asked the question, why should I hire you? And that, so, I mean, we're all in the same position, which is trying to adjust to a reality which the sand is shifting very, very quickly under our feet. And I think that, if if I were, to summarize what people come to me for and people ask for is, how do I get known for this? How do I in and the answer is, be present, be relevant, be consistent, provide value, and theoretically, the business should take care of itself. It's not a matter of writing to more people and saying, "Hey, do you want to hire me?" That's not generally a viable option. I mean, we all get those emails probably and DMs where somebody just shoves their resume into the thing and is like, "This is what I can do for you. Do you want to talk?" I mean, how many of you even have ever responded to that, you know? And yet it's very tempting when we talk about ourselves to turn around and say, "This is me, this is what I can do." Um, and so yeah, it's, a strange double-edged sword. Um, Martin and I were talking briefly before the call, and we were talking about um, 2025 being a year of proposals and 2026 being a year of actual implementation. QMSR, MDSAP, the proposed MDR, uh, and how that's going to shake out. What do you all see as topics shaping 2026 in areas where you would like to see a mini summit or, more anyone?
Well, maybe I can start. I just wrote an article on. I didn't write an article, but I wrote something on LinkedIn where I think that people skills, availability to actually take over the challenges that the industry will be facing in 2026 and beyond, and I mean for the next 5 to 10 years. Um, that class of professionals that we're expecting, especially because of the complexity that is shaping up pretty much as we move on with new products, new technologies, and even now with AI. Um, and I mean that not only for the industry, but I actually mean it for the regulators, because the regulators have gone through a major overhaul of their institutional knowledge. So now, when you reach out to the FDA and other regulatory organizations, you find that there's a lot of new people. So the way decisions will be made, the way policies will be implemented, even the way compliance and quality will be achieved, I think that this is going to be a challenge. And I don't actually, it's not just only in quality, but even in manufacturing, in validation, and pretty much across all functions with it. So I think that we need to figure out a way to sort of understand, and maybe even for us in consulting, how do we support organizations that are evolving, and organizations that in a certain way do show a gap. I mean, as a consultant, a lot of the consulting work that I do sometimes is really helping clients on the basics, not on the complex, because even the basics are still a challenge. So to me, people and organizations, it's going to be a challenge. Even the way organizations will be shaped and how organizations are developed, it's going to be a challenge, which will have an impact on how products are brought to the market, how products in commercial distribution actually disposed of. I'm concerned that there could be even a situation where, you know, for the sake of being comfortable and safe, uh, products will be rejected. and maybe they didn't need to be rejected. Products will be recalled, and maybe they didn't need to be recalled, which is going to be an expensive proposition to the industry. So that's my concern. So, and to me, people are the key to any GXP activity. You could have great procedures, you could have great processes, you could have great facilities, you name it. But if you don't have the right people managing, directing, executing, it doesn't really matter if you have a state-of-the-art facility. It really doesn't matter if you have great procedures. People will fail. Processes will fail because people run processes. Processes don't run people. Procedures don't run people. People actually run procedure. So that's my perspective. I think that this could be a theme on how do we think outside the box.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I think what you're pointing at is that, so much change all happening at the same time, it has a destabilizing effect on these companies, and so it's an effect change management, um, to at least maintain the consistency of the people throughout the process. I don't know, something like that. So,
I
To a
think
yeah, to a certain extent, yes. Sorry.
I think you have a situation occurring. If we look at the QA/RA space, we have seen a migration happening or an evolution where people who are pure regulatory have difficulty surviving if they don't have the quality piece. And quality people need a bit of the regulatory piece. And now we're seeing the technical bar being raised, where I think risk management is a really good example, right? We have the risk management specialist, right? So they could put together a risk management, put together great risk management and be all 14971 compliant. Oh, but now they have AI, and now they have software as a medical device, which have all got different levels of risk management. And now we have CVSS. And basically, for someone like me, you just put all of that mapping into your risk management plan and bring everything out on the 14971 top level risk evaluation and assessment. But if you don't have that knowledge, and if you don't understand what software is, if you don't understand what AI is, and you don't understand what cyber vulnerability really is, then it's extremely challenging. You're going to be completely lost. And this whole cyber vulnerability is just one tiny piece of information security. What is the point of making your device super secure against cyber attacks if your company isn't super secure and all the development documents and all the development information is sitting on the cloud unencrypted? I mean, it's like there is so much going on. It's very, very difficult for management and the experts themselves to have the oversight.
that's a great point. And I think we're going to see more and more cybersecurity issues, both at the level of the device and the whole connected environment which the device exists within, um, and all of the vulnerabilities that exposes companies to is an excellent point. Two other people have posted. One said harmonization of standards, and another person posted about EUDAMED. Darren, do you want to say anything about EUDAMED? Um, I don't know if you're still on. Um, or the person who posted about harmonization, which I have to check.
That was me. I think it's an ongoing discussion. We still have a huge gap for resources, so it will probably stay on the agenda for quite a while, also in 2026.
Well, the FDA just published their updated list of recognized standards.
Yeah, because for the FDA, the FDA can do it alone. And in Europe, with the harmonized standards, you need not only the EU Commission who publishes it, you also need Senelec who writes the set annexes, the forward. You need the HAS consultants, which are third parties hired by the EU Commission to review it, give it back to the standardization bodies before it can be published. So there are a lot more people involved in that.
And it's a very slow process.
It's a very slow process.
A great example is so 20417 back in March, second edition was drafted for FDIS and in Tokyo. And I was part of that. And we sent it off to be reviewed for Annex Z. And it sat and sat and sat and sat. And we finally.
Sorry to bother you. Are you available?
But he needs to mute.
No. Okay.
And a couple months ago, because it just sat, we finally, I think it's the Vienna agreement. I always get these agreements mixed up. We went to ISO and said, it's not getting processed. We need to split with the agreement and just get it published. So it's hopefully going to publish without the Annex Z in approximately March, because it's been sitting so long not getting processed. So we're not going to have an Annex Z for 20417 second edition, which has significant changes. I mean, we had several hundred comments, I believe, in Tokyo last March that we went through. We spent 2.5 days going through all the comments.
That sounds painful.
Yeah. So there's some really good changes coming through it.
There have been a couple comments about EUDAMED and this other thing in the chat, BODAMED, I guess is how you would say that. Beautiful EUDAMED, better EUDAMED. There's a link in there. Has anyone tried it? I'm not sure what it is. I'm not.
And Sean, I think I found my mic. I can speak a little bit to why I put EUDAMED in. If we get a minute here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, again, EUDAMED just been such a slow roll over the years, and I think with the 4 modules becoming mandatory in 2026, it's gonna probably catch a lot of people by surprise. If I triangulate a little bit from FDA data, the UDI Good ID 483 findings just over the past couple of years have skyrocketed. There's 2 that are now in the top 15. They just released the 2025 483 data. I've been working with a client who did not register in Good ID, so I think it's triangulating a little bit, but I think a lot of people are going to be surprised by the EUDAMED requirements, and it's going to sneak up on them. So that's why I think it's a good one to cover this year.
Excellent. Anybody have any thoughts about EUDAMED? Good, bad, otherwise?
I mean, at the same time, we are now in Switzerland out of EUDAMED, so we have our own SwissDomaid, which also gets mandatory in 2026 for this small country. It's an own database. So if you cover EUDAMED, probably you also need to do the same again for Switzerland if you're selling to Switzerland.
I think Italy and Spain are also keeping their registration databases, at least for a while. And I imagine that a number of other countries are as well.
Yeah, but Switzerland is not part anymore of EUDAMED so at all. So
Right.
it will stay there at least as long as we're not again part of the single market for medical devices.
Well, I think that we could do a whole session just on Switzerland. I mean, really, the decision to opt out of MDR was something, and
It was not an opt-out, it was a kicking out. So it was never voluntary with Switzerland to get out there.
no.
But you have quite some people here on the list from Switzerland, so I think it should be feasible to do once a call on a Friday about Switzerland. Stephanie and Martin and
Yeah,
me.
I agree. I'm in.
Me too. So we already have two at least.
Yeah. Sean, I would
David,
also like to talk about IMDRF as well and the importance of
Are you
of
speaking on
what
that
they're
next
doing.
week? Didn't we?
Yeah, I would like to. Yeah. Is that still a go, I hope?
Yeah. I just, getting sick. I just kind of fell behind. But yeah,
Okay.
Stephanie is going to be talking next week on IMDRF. And tell us, give us a preview. What's
Well,
your
what I'll do be just is first of all introducing IMDRF as it is, an organization that's really pushing harmonization and some of the benefits and some of the things that have been brought from that organization and spread and in use internationally. And we know some of these things, but we're probably not aware of where the origins are. For example, the MDSAP program, the vigilance coding that has been adopted by the EU, and some of the other benefits, like for example, if you have an MDSAP certificate and report, Brazil, the regulatory authorities from Brazil will not come within the year to audit your quality management system if you're a legal manufacturer. They're going to take 4 years till they come. And I mean, if you can think about the financial benefit of that, I mean, that's, worth thinking about for your organization, right? So that's just a little bit of a pre-cap of what I'll be talking about.
I appreciate it. So we're about out of time.
Hey, Sean,
Yeah,
can I just have 2 seconds?
sure.
Um, I think I've been with this group since Joe Haig's days for a while, and then I truly enjoyed this whole 2025. And I think amongst the group of people, I probably got the least of any knowledge because I was in IT for 28 years and switched to medical device in the last 10 years. But I want to say thank you to all the experts on the panel, and some are not. I have learned so much from all of you. Like Leo, every time I have 6601 questions, I always go to your LinkedIn and look at your posts or go to YouTube or whatever. And then for some other experts like Michelle Lott, and I just really enjoy learning from everybody. And then I start to follow most of you and trying to learn. So I hope 2026 will be another wonderful learning year for me. And I just want to take this opportunity to say Happy New Year and thank you all the experts.
Very well said. I appreciate it. Thank you for saying that. If anybody else would like to add any comments, feel free. Otherwise, we'll resume next week. Those of you who are interested in speaking this year, please reach out to me. We'll develop the topic together. I'm not gonna, you know, shove you in front of everybody and be like, go, you need to be the expert. I think that it's important to think of this as a collaborative environment. It's important to think of the the benefit of having a number of people in the room. You don't need to be the smartest one. Nobody likes the smartest person in the room. Just think of Martha Stewart and what happened to her. You know, um, everyone was happy when she went to prison. Well, not everyone, but you know what I mean. So, I mean that, don't be Martha Stewart. And yes, absolutely. Canadian requirements. That sounds good. Um, yes. So I want to wish everybody a happy and prosperous 2026. Um, if you have questions for me, please feel free to reach out. I'm always available to talk. And yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being part of this.
Thank you, Sean, for collaborating and bringing us all out to our best. Thank you, Michelle, as well.
Thank you, all the experts, and I couldn't thank you enough for helping me learning to do my job.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you next week.
Bye.
Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Happy New
everyone.
Year.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.